Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.
I'm not good at waiting, and I can't wait any longer. I'm going to put some cucumber plants in the ground this weekend and try to get a jump on that downy mildew that's such a pesky thing to have. Hello, gardeners. I'm Amanda McNulty with Clemson Extension, and I'm so glad you can join us tonight for SCETV's own gardening show, Making It Grow. We're coming to you live from historic downtown Sumter. And we have a person who's not historic. She's young and pretty, and her name is Terasa Young, and she's in the chat room right now, and as soon as we go inside, she's going to tell you how easy it is to join her there, and I want you to be a chatter and not a viewer. Step up to the plate. We had a wonderful visit to Red Forge Ironworks in Timmonsville, and you're going to learn about a young artist in South Carolina who is really setting the world on fire. We also are so happy that Lori Watson from Mill Creek Greenhouse is with us, and she has brought some extravagantly beautiful things to get you excited about spring if you weren't already. Got two fine people who have Clemson horticulture backgrounds inside who are going to help us answer your questions. So let's go inside and get this show going. Our own Terasa Young, who is a water quality expert. And Terasa, I heard you were doing some TV work this morning. Tell me where you were.
Well, good evening, Amanda. Yes, I came via Pawleys Island to the show today. Had a chance to tape a segment about rainwater harvesting. You know, rainwater can be a resource for you if you collect it and store it for later outdoor water use. If you're interested, feel free to join me in the chat room. Simply go to the Making It Grow Facebook page. At the top of the screen, click on the green Let's Talk icon. You'll be directed into the chat room where you can log in. We already have 7 speakers and 1 viewers. You just log in with your Facebook or Twitter credentials or set up your own Rumble Talk account. Now we have a new facelift for the Making It Grow website. You can now watch live from any internet device that you have. So if you are on the go, just go to the Making It Grow website. So you can go to scetv.org, click on Making It Grow, and then you shall see there we are live, just a few second delay. So I hope that you'll give it a try. Amanda, back to you.
Thank you so much. And we are so tickled tonight. We have the F1 generation. Lauren Duncan is the daughter of a retired extension agent and Russell Duncan, and we are just so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Amanda,
and
so
tell me where you are and what you're up to.
I'm at the Historic Columbia Foundation in downtown Columbia. I'm their horticulturist. I take care of 7 properties and all the plants, Lord knows how many. Ooh. And I've been getting geared up for some gardening programming that we've been working on, and also working with volunteers when I can during the week.
Okay, and I think you've got a program coming up that I've got on my calendar. Tell me about that, won't you?
We do. We have our 2014 Gardening Symposium, Growing Your Gardening Skills, and Amanda's going to be our keynote speaker. She'll be talking, it's all about the dirt, with us on Friday, April 11 at the historic riverfront setting of 300 Senate.
What fun. And there's all the information. So give Historic Columbia a call. When I was a little girl, my mother took us to all the things that had to do with Historic Columbia, and I still enjoy it, and the grounds really add a lot to it.
It's a beautiful gardens, and it's always growing.
And we have Tony Melton, and Tony, you look over 14 acres. Tony looks over something like 14,000 acres. Tony is, of course, the small fruits and vegetables specialist for the PD and half the country. Yep. Tony, and you said today you were in how many places looking at what?
I was at 7 farms today looking at strawberries, and they're just, a lot of them are just beautiful.
Ooh, they're going to be fat and juicy?
Yeah, they're going to be real great. And they protected them from all this cold. With some of them did it with overhead sprinkling, which when the water freezes, it gives off a little bit of heat, which keeps them above freezing.
And some people pull the covers up?
And some people pull the covers up.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I think if you've never had our fresh South Carolina locally produced strawberries, you have missed a great treat, and they're going to be in the store coming near you very, very soon, so keep your eye out for them. We also have a treat. She's not quite strawberry colored, but Lori Watson probably gets a little pink in the sun, and she is the wonderful nurseryman at Mill Creek Greenhouse. And Lori, what a feast for the eyes you've brought us.
Yes, we brought some wonderful plants waking up to the warm days of spring, some new plants with some old-fashioned favorites.
Well, we can't wait to come over and learn more about them. And now we're going to check in with our favorite professor at the University of South Carolina, I believe, and that is Dr. John Nelson. Dr. John, are you close to the Skype?
I'm sitting right in front of the
So you are.
thing.
So you are. And who's that on the sofa behind you?
Well, there's nobody back there.
Oh, there's nobody there. Oh, there. I see the tail. I see the tail going by.
That was Hannah.
John, we are excited because we're going to be with you pretty soon, this Thursday, as a matter of fact, doing some filming with you and your students. And I think you said this may be an open call classroom. Tell me about where we're going and what we're doing.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. We're going to be going to the Broad River Diversion Dam, which is a part of the Greenway system here in Columbia. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous walkway, and this particular place where we will be meeting is up at the northern end of it at the Diversion Dam. It's the north end of the Columbia Canal.
All right.
And I guess we're going to be showing up about 10:30, and I would think that if anybody wants to tag along, that would be just fine.
Okay. I think you probably should wear shoes that stay on your feet well and that cover your toes up. Is that, if I remember correctly from when I was a student?
Oh, yeah. There might be stickers.
Okay.
Now, I understand that they've been doing some work along the diversion dam, so I'm not really sure what the raging current is going to be like. But,
So, not a good idea to show up in flip-flops.
no flip-flops.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask Terasa Young if she'll be kind enough to put those directions on our Facebook page tomorrow, if we can get a little bit more information from you about that. And in the meantime, I'd like for you to give people some information on if they have a plant they'd like to have identified, how they can get it to be under your perusal.
Well, sure. We get plant pictures of plants sent to us all the time as just as an attachment with an email message. You can send it to my email, or if you want to, call me up and we can make some other kind of arrangement. Sometimes I'll run downstairs if you want to drop by, and that's pretty easy. Or you could mail something to me. I get things in the mail too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we'll come back a little bit later and find out about the mystery plant of the evening. How about that?
That's going to be very mysterious too.
Okay. All right. Thanks, John. We'll see you later. We've got a caller. How about that? I thought they might be outside on such a pretty day. But Ticey's calling us from Cowpens. Thank you so much for calling us, and how can we help you tonight?
Well, just in watching it, Dr. Nelson reminds me of my childhood and going out where you're going on this expedition. We, in the lowlands of West Florida, we had buttercups growing wild. And I just wondered if he has ever come across any in this part of the state. Also, I enjoy you, Amanda, in your publishing in making or South Carolina wildlife.
Oh, thank you.
And you just recently had one, and I really do enjoy your articles. They're so meaningful. Okay. And we have a whole yard full of old Formosa azaleas.
Yes.
They have really taken a whipping this year. And my question is, should we go ahead and wait and see if they're going to bloom before we cut them back by a third?
Well, you know, to me, sometimes when you've had a lot of damage, you may want to start working a little earlier just to try to get things in shape. What would you think in this case, Tony?
Well, for most, it's about 1 out of 4 years, or maybe 1 out of 3, they get damaged pretty bad and don't have any flowers. My guess is, I don't know. Well, truly, I don't know. I'd wait a little while, see if they do flower a little bit. You hate to cut them off.
Well, I hate to wait till it gets so hot that I have to work in the yard to be hot.
I understand that too.
But Formosa is a real old-fashioned one. What would you think?
If it looks real bad, you could go ahead and do a little trimming, but I hate to lose those blooms. But I'm like you, May's really toasty to be out there snipping them away.
If I could, I think I might get a little bit done ahead of time, since they're not going to be a beautiful display anyway.
No.
But John, Dr. John, are you still with us?
I am, yes.
My daddy used to hold buttercups under my chin, and he'd say that if they were flected yellow, it meant I like butter, and I do like butter. Do you run into buttercups on your excursions?
It's interesting, you know, I rode my bike to school today, and I stopped at Maxie Gregg Park and picked up a big bag full for the class this morning. And, you know, buttercups in South Carolina, we have a good many different species. And about half of them, I guess, are native, and the other ones are introduced and a little bit weedy.
Okay. Well, they are mighty pretty, and so if you see one, you can pick it and hold it under your daughter or your sweetheart's chin, and if it reflects yellow, it means they like butter. And I think it almost always gives the affirmative signal, don't you?
I think it means that they like you.
Okay, we'll be back in a minute. Doris is calling us, and she's up in Lancaster. Hey, Doris, how are you doing tonight, and how can we help you with your garden?
I'm doing just great. It's not the garden. I'm being held hostage in my house by bumblebees.
By bumblebees?
I tried to go out on the deck, and when I go out there, they chase me back in.
Yeah.
But they haven't stung you, have they?
They don't get a chance. I run too fast.
But I think even if you sit still,
they won't sting you.
Because they're
only
males.
The females will sting, in fact, can sting, in fact, but the males,
and they're not. It's not really a bumblebee. I think it's a carpenter bee. Is that
carpenter
correct?
bee. They'll bombard you, though. They'll come at you. My grandchild, he likes to go out and take a tennis racket. And he loves to whop them with a tennis racket. It's a lot of fun.
But actually, the carpenter bee is drilling. The female is drilling.
So you can maybe paint your deck, and that might solve some of those problems. Or put a random piece of wood out. Maybe they'll move away from your deck.
Some people do that. And also, Millie Davenport, our dear friend, if you will go to Clemson HGIC, we have some videos there, and I think Millie has a good video about how to control those carpenter bees. But the ones that are bombarding you, if you just stand your ground, you can back them down, because those are just the males, and they don't have anything on the back end to sting you with. So, all right, I think now we're gonna go back to Dr. John and see if he can stunt the panel with his mystery plant tonight. John?
Okay. About those bees, you know, I think that I've heard that those carpenter bees, even though they can be kind of annoying, they also pollinate flowers.
Yes, they do.
A lot of times. So
Thank you for bringing that up.
They're not so bad.
No, they're not. They're not.
Anyway.
Well, do we have a flower? Do we get flowers on our mystery plant tonight, or is it one that has other interesting features?
Well, right now it has other interesting features, but it's a tree. It's yet another very, very interesting tree, and I have to tell you, it's an introduced tree. And the first thing you notice about it, green, green, green. So it's the stem, the bark of the tree, even when it gets some size on it, is bright green. It's very attractive, I think.
Gosh, that's really good.
If you look at it kind of up close, it's sort of yellow and green stripedy. But it forms a tree. Usually it's a pretty slender tree. And then after it really, you know, when the spring comes, it'll start the little buds will start swelling up at the ends of the branches, and they're pretty characteristic too. They're sort of big old knobby buds on the thing. But it's really that bark that gives this one away. Now, when the leaves do come out, they are enormous leaves, and they're shaped like great big giant grape leaves or something, and very characteristic of the species. And you might think that if you grow this thing in your yard, it might give you some shade, and that's true. And I bet you all know this one. It's not a real hard one. It's actually an introduced species, like I said, and unfortunately, it can be somewhat invasive.
And
so,
is the common name something that we might use for shade or rain?
Yes, it is, Amanda.
Do you know this one, honey?
Is it a parasol tree?
There you go.
There we go.
Yay!
Those Clemson grads, I tell you.
Yep.
Thank you, John. And I have been to places where it was just everywhere.
Really?
And that means that something else that would have been there that might be native didn't.
Right. So this one is really not such a good plant to be growing because it can get away from us.
Well, thank you for that one, and we will, I'm sure, encounter that on some of our walks. I don't know if we'll see that one in this hodgepodge area where we're going, but I know we're going to see a lot of beautiful things Thursday, and I can't wait to be with you again, and I'm going to bring you a sandwich, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that sandwich, too.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
All right.
Okay. Terasa, we're wondering how people are signing in and getting on.
Well, we're having a grand conversation in the chat room as usual. Looks like we have about 19 folks right now. We haven't really been talking all that much about gardening. We talked about how the hummingbirds are here. I know I've seen the first one at my house, so it's time to get those hummingbird feeders up. We also talked a little bit about how the birds ate us out of house and home with the severe winter weather that we had. There's not too late to join in. If you want to get in the chat room, you can do that from the Making It Grow Facebook page. You can also go to the newly made over Making It Grow website where you can watch us. We are streaming live. That's available from any internet device that you might have, and you can also link to the chat room from there. Amanda, back to you.
And I want to thank Sean Flynn, our producer director, and everyone here at the Sumter office and the Columbia ETV for all the grand help that they gave us in making this transition possible. Thank you. Kevin Jordan and Ed Goodwin particularly deserve our thanks, and we are so grateful to them, because it used to be if you had a Mac or you were trying to watch on your telephone like young people do, you couldn't do it, and now you can. So I expect us to have a much younger audience now. We've got Lewis calling us from Bishopville, South Carolina, right up the road. Hey, Lewis, how are you, and what's happening in your yard? Hello, Lewis.
Hello.
Hey, Lewis, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
We're doing pretty good, too. Is there something going on we might be able to help you with?
Yes, ma'am. I have a comment and a question.
Oh, goodness.
My
okay.
comment is last week you had a person that had trouble with nut grass in their garden.
Yes.
The easiest way to get rid of that is to fence it up and put some pigs in it, and they will tear every one of them out, and you'll be rid of your nut grass.
Well,
and my question is, I would like to know what is happening to our Leland cypress trees, why they are dying so.
Oh, goodness. You know, we promoted Leland cypress, and then it turned out we didn't do a very good job doing our homework, did we? Tony, what happens to those Leland cypresses?
That's right. We have 2 or 3 different cankers. One's iridium, one's, then there's a couple of other ones that I just went from my memory that quick.
That's fine, because it's, yeah.
But there's no control for it. Mm-hmm. You could spray them almost all the time, and it's going to get in there, and it's going to take those limbs out. And you'll just see one limb die at a time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it'll die back, and if it ever gets into the trunk, that trunk dies all the way from there up. So, and the other one is Batrachospermia. Yeah. That's the one.
So really, although we thought that this was going to be an elegant tree to use in hedges and all, it seems that we made a mistake by bringing it into South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think part of the reason is the parentage of that is from the Pacific Northwest in England or something like that. I think it's a hybrid. And when it's very unhappy when it gets hot and in a drought. And a lot of people planted long lines of them for hedges, and then you can't water them. And so anyway, so you know what I think? I think eastern red cedar is just about the best thing you can plant if you need a good screen.
I like it. I really
just
do. We grew up with
I
one
know,
big
cedars.
one in my front
I know,
yard.
cedar.
Just
Well,
beautiful.
yeah, Jack's calling us Westminster. Jack, I didn't mean to go off on eastern red cedars. How are you doing up there in your part of the world? Jack?
Yeah,
Hey.
I got a question about my Indian hawthorn shrubbery. I pruned them back in December, and I was wondering if shouldn't they done be putting out green leaves?
You're not seeing anything yet? Okay. Do y'all have those?
We have quite a few Indian hawthorns. Lucky for us, we don't do too much to them, so Tony might know something a little bit more why it's not leafing out.
Yeah, the Entomosporium leaf spots are trouble on those things.
But he pruned in December. He's not seeing new buds yet. I think it's just too early.
It's
because
just too
been
early
too
now.
cold.
And
But talk to us about pruning Indian hawthorns, because we really think you're
should.
better off if you don't.
if you don't, and they make a beautiful plant without it.
And it's just nice.
Just
to-
nice,
We leave
round,
ours
beautiful.
alone. I like them that way.
The
And
more-
less work for me.
And are they just kind of billowy and pretty?
We have them inside boxwood border, and they're almost like clouds. They make a nice little filling, and then we have some camellia bushes in the center, so
Oh,
it
it
creates
sounds
a
real
nice
pretty.
staggering effect.
And Tony, I believe the less we prune them, less likely we are to get the fungal infection.
That's right. Those little small, tender little leaves that come on, like he's waiting for, it's going to get the disease worse than the older, tougher leaves. It doesn't get them as bad, and the more little leaves, the more disease.
Okay. Always good to pick a plant that's the right size for when it's mature, and then you don't have to spend all your life giving it a haircut.
Yep.
Isn't that right? Okay.
Right plant, right place.
There you
Yep.
go. Somerville. Oh, I think y'all are getting ready for your Azalea Festival. Has it already happened, Kelly?
No, it's coming up this weekend.
Okay, well, have you got a yard full of beautiful flowers?
I do.
Oh, I'm so glad. Wonderful. Well, is there something that's not so beautiful that we might be able to help you with?
Well, nothing's not so good. Everything's fantastic. We love you guys, and Tony, you're a rock star at our house. So here's my question. We have a greenhouse, and we've started all of our heirloom seeds in the greenhouse, and everything is about 2 to 3 inches, all the tomatoes, cucumbers. We've got a whole lot of stuff in there. My question is about hardening off. We need some advice on how to harden off at this point.
Well, just sit back and listen. Okay, Tony.
Yeah, you need to do that because if you take something right straight from a warm, nice, comfortable situation in the greenhouse and stick it straight outside with the wind and all blowing, it's really hard on it. So if you can move them out and let them sit outside, and if it doesn't frost again, don't bring them back inside because they'll be fine. Just let them stay
But
out there.
do you put them in the full sun, or do you put them in a slightly shaded area and then move them to the full sun, or how do you go about it?
Well, in the greenhouse, depending
been
on what your
pretty sunny.
greenhouse is like, if it was pretty sunny, you can pretty much move it in straight sun. But if it has some shade to it, I'd move it in part shade for a little while.
Now, if we're going to have a windy day, would that maybe you wouldn't want to leave them out all day, but that might dry them out a little too
Well,
much?
with them close together, they really don't blow as bad as a one individual plant sitting in one individual little hole in the field.
Okay.
You know, because then it blows real bad. But if you got them in a flat, usually they support each other.
Okay. So pay attention to the temperature forecast.
That's right.
Okay.
That's the most important thing.
Okay.
You don't want to wake up and say, uh-oh.
All right, don't go to bed without checking the weather forecast. We're going to go over and see these beautiful, beautiful plants that Lori Watson has brought us. And while I get ready to head over that way, we're going to check in with Terasa and see how things are going back there in the chat room. Terasa, do they ever start talking about gardening?
We are. We've been talking a little bit about herbs. So I know I like to grow herbs. It's great to be able to have things that you can go out, pick fresh, and bring them in and enjoy them with your meal. I also wanted to share with you that in addition to being able to watch live from any internet device, you can see some exclusive web-only clips. If you scroll down to the bottom of the Making It Grow website, you'll see here we have one that talks about 4-H agents and their work with raising chickens, and a little bit about embryology, which is the study of eggs. They brought a special guest, Marky Mark the Rooster, and you'll have to watch this clip to see for yourself. But he was pretty quiet to begin with, and then his vocal cords seemed to warm up, and he just wouldn't stop talking. Kind of like me, I think they say sometimes. Anyway, I do encourage you to check those clips out. Now let's check in with Amanda and Lori at the side counter.
I think that there's something about being on the Making It Grow set that encourages a lot of us to exercise our vocal cords, Teresa. Oh, goodness. Lori Watson is a wonderful nurseryman, and she has just such a heavenly place at Mill Creek Greenhouse, and you're sharing glimpses of heaven with us today. Thanks for coming.
Sweet. Thank
and
you.
I'm just going to jump right in because I am so excited about this plant down here. Tell me what it is.
It's a cutlery. Margie Jenkins is what some people refer to it as, just Jenkins. It likes filtered sun. It stays about almost like it is 3 by 3.
So another plant that if you put it in the right place, we don't have to do
Never
any pruning.
touch it. Yes, and it's really the natural shape of that cutlery is just beautiful. But it really sort of looks like an Indian hawthorn in partial shade that stays full and dense.
And you said that if you've got a spot that it has a little bit of moisture, that
Yes.
actually it likes that.
It does. It does like some moisture. Yes, I've noticed that. I have them in my yard, and that's what I've noticed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Leucotherium axillaris, and then Margie Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
Jenkins, and of course that's a native plant. And I think we were looking earlier that said the bees really will enjoy it when those little flower buds open.
When that blooms in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
it'll be beautiful.
I've got a place that is kind of shady, and I want something that's a little bit fuller. And I think
you would love that
I
plant.
think I've just met my answer to my dream. And then now I know redbuds because they're all over the road, but this doesn't look like the regular redbud.
It's
What's the story?
Well, it's a multi-stem shrub, so it's not going to be a tree. It blooms from the stems all the way to the trunk. That's one of the beauties about the Dawn Egoff. This is the cultivar's Dawn Egoff, our selection.
Dawn
Egoff.
Okay.
Or redbud.
And you say it's not going to turn into a tree bed. How big should we expect it to get?
7 to 8 feet tall. It's a very slow grower. Again, I have this one in my yard. It's absolutely stunning at this point right now. And then the heart-shaped leaves that follow are beautiful. Sort of looks like the traveler, that redbud with the velvety leaves.
So really it has a good many special characteristics, not just the smaller size. And I think I spend a lot of time, and I don't mind, I pull little red buds up because they do make those wonderful seeds. Does this one?
This one sets no seeds, so you won't have the pods.
So you won't have to bend over and pull yet another seed.
Another part to easy gardening.
Okay. And now I don't know if it's a bird or a plane, but it is drop dead gorgeous. It looks kind of like a azalea, but it looks like a rhododendron.
And this has a funny story because we were at this nursery last year. This gentleman gave us these rhododendrons to see if they would take last spring actually.
Yeah.
To see if they would take the heat and humidity of Columbia, South Carolina.
Because rhododendrons don't like it down here.
And it set out, and I hate to say this, on my driveway, concrete, afternoon blazing sun. It sometimes got water, it sometimes didn't. And I tell you, for the last 3 weeks, this thing has been stunning. And you know, it's a rebloomer. It'll rebloom in September. So they say March, and this nursery will have this one available midsummer.
Okay.
So.
And what's the name of this one?
Abby's Review.
Abby's
Review.
Oh, because it's a rebloomer.
Yeah.
Gosh, it is just beautiful.
I know.
Just magnificent. And to think we can have that color and those blossoms here in the Midlands.
And did great also, like you said, the shiny green leaves.
I know,
doesn't really look like it was touched by our winter. So.
And now we go from that wonderful light purple to this blazing, wonderful coral.
Quince. The quinces have never been prettier this year. I think they got the cold dormant, so they needed to really bud and flower. This one is a double take storm series. It's called Double Take Storm. It's a double flower. They come in pink, red, and there's another color, pink, red, and orange.
Oh.
And it has no thorns.
Golly.
And this one also does not set fruit. So you won't see quinces, the little quinces that hang at the end of the summer. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's the thornless part that's wonderful. They're compact. They stay about 3 feet tall.
Really? Mm-hmm. Because mine is so big, you really have to have a big space for the old-fashioned quince.
Right.
And a lot of people don't have room for that. Well, it's just beautiful. And quince is a nice open plant too. I like the way it is, and it's so much fun to cut and bring in the house. You can force it early for Christmas, can't you? Well, it sure is.
It was
beautiful
loaded
right
with
now.
buds. This one
It
was.
still is loaded with buds. It's just going to have a long bloom
And
period.
like you said, I overheard you speaking that it's the frost will hit some of the other ones, but these other ones just keep opening and opening and opening, so it's never going to be a goner.
I know,
you know?
and they fall off real quickly so they don't hang on.
Correct.
Now, this is a small fella now, but we've got big plans for him.
Yeah. This is your hardy Schefferilla, not an indoor plant. It's your Chinese Schefferilla. It is actually hardy down to 8 degrees.
8 degrees?
It stayed in an Atlanta.
Now, is it evergreen?
Evergreen.
Evergreen.
It'll get 10, 12 feet tall, but very slow. The grower was telling me by seed, these are very, very slow. But in Atlanta, there was a nursery that had this out all winter, and it's done great.
Lord in heavens.
So it's like you grow it just like a Fatsia here.
And so you could have it on your patio or by your pool or any outdoor space.
Very tropical looking.
And have that wonderful effect. I just think it's be a lot of fun to try.
I know,
Don't you think?
very interesting.
And oh my goodness, Excordia, that is usually fun, but not as much fun as this.
Yeah, this is a Japanese paper bush.
Yes.
And when you get real close to it, the scent is almost like a soft gardenia smell. Usually
they're yellowish and white, aren't they?
This is orange and red. Akebano is the cultivar name of this. But just a beautiful Edgeworthia, like some shade in our Columbia heat or Midlands heat, and long velvety leaves.
And it's an unusual plant because
it almost gets to be like a.
It's a fun focal piece, don't you think?
Yes, specimen for sure.
Yeah, it really, really is. And this, and especially with this new color break, I can see that people would get real excited about that. And then, oh goodness, there's nothing like having blueberries. And we usually tell people that rabbit eye blueberries are what you're going to grow if you're going to grow a whole row of them. But this is a special one that might be great to have in containers.
It's a new series, Brazzleberries. It was out last year.
Brazzleberries.
And this one I think is peach sorbet. It's got a lot of color change in the leaves, so the winter, spring, all the way through fall.
Yes.
And another one's called Jelly Bean, but they stay very compact, about 2.5 feet. But they're supposedly being sort of spoken as amazing fruit on very compact plants. And I think just a blueberry bush in general is ornamental.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think this would be so much fun to have on a container because it is so pretty.
Yeah.
Right now it's beautiful, and then when the fruits want, it'd be so pretty to have that outside. And Tony was telling us that they like a very low pH, and so you could really just use bark and have good drainage, and they would just be dynamite. Whoa. Well. In just a little bit, when we get towards the end of the show, we're going to get people. We're going to let you tell people how to find your nursery, and I'm going to program it on my map because my GPS doesn't work. Lauren Watson, with Mill Creek Greenhouse, thank you so much for bringing us these treasures from your home. Okay. And now we're going to check back into Terasa and find out about those chatters, and if anybody's learning how to push the button and watch the new Making It Grow web page that gives us live shows. Terasa?
Thanks, Amanda. I'm sure they are, because our wonderful staff has made it super easy for you to watch Making It Grow, whether you're sitting at home in front of the television or on the go with your mobile device. You know, this year is the 100th anniversary of the Smith-Lever Act, and that formalized the cooperative extension system. And so to celebrate, our media services folks have been publishing a photo of the day, and you just have to see today's photo. Scientists are always researching how to get better cattle production, and it appears that they have come up with a new species. You see here, Tigris bovis. So this cow that looks like a tiger. And I understand it's relatively docile, but it does like to attack chickens. So, that can be a concern on a farm where you might have both going on. But it reduces cow tipping by up to 64%. So just amazing. And if you'd like to learn more, perhaps you know someone who is raising cattle, you can encourage them to visit their local extension office. There's one in each of 46 counties. Well, okay, we might be playing a little April Fool's on you here today. Not about agents in every county, but about this. There certainly is not a tiger cow, but do consult your Clemson Extension office whenever you have horticulture or ag-related questions. Amanda, back to you.
And we do have an extension picture of the day during this 100-year celebration.
All right.
Yeah, and so I would encourage you to check with that, the 100-year centennial of Extension, and there's a picture of the day, and some of them are of old things, and some of them are of new things. And Tony, you've got a wonderful exhibit that you put together of that, and I think you're going to bring that exhibit with you when we come down to Art Fields, aren't you?
I think everybody likes to look at the old folks.
Well, then they should like to look at you and me, shouldn't they?
I've been around since the beginning. Yes.
Jill is calling us from Florence. Hey, Jill, how are you, and how are things over in Florence, South Carolina? Oh, Jane, I'm sorry.
Hi. Hi, Amanda. This is Jane.
Hey, Jane, I'm sorry. In Spartanburg, I got the wrong, I'm on the wrong line on the page. But I'm delighted to be talking to you.
Thank you, and I'm delighted to be talking to you. I have a unusual question. I have a friend who is an older farmer, and he is interested in growing a tree like in California that's the redwood forest. Is that even possible in this area?
Well, if anybody would know, it would be Tony. So let's find out. Tony?
Well, the old redwoods do rather well here. Yeah, I like them. It's hard to look at them from a distance, tell them the difference between that and a bald cypress. They look a lot alike.
Well, do you think that's what
trees.
he's thinking about, or do you think he's talking about the real redwood? Is the Dawn redwood the redwood?
It's not. No, it's not.
Really,
it's close.
Yeah.
But it's not the tree.
But it's a redwood.
It's a redwood.
What were you going to say?
Wonderful.
There's one on Laurel Street in downtown Columbia.
A redwood?
Yeah, it's either a redwood or a bald cypress. I haven't gotten close enough, but I've noticed it driving by, so maybe it will grow.
Well, the Dawn redwood, I don't know if that's what he would like, but it is a beautiful tree, and it does not put up knees, if I'm not mistaken.
And it lives up on the hill and in the bottoms. It lives in a lot of places.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's what we have planted in front of our office here in Clemson, in the Sumter Extension office. Elizabeth is calling us from Green Pond. We were... I was down that way not too long ago, Elizabeth. What a beautiful part of the world you live in. And what's happening down there that we might be able to help you with?
Well, I'm renting on a property, and I've got permission to do some gardening on it. And there's a lot of English ivy growing, and I understand that's an invasive species. What's the best way to get rid of that? Now, I've got box turtles living in the woods, too, that I don't want to harm.
Okay. It's on the ground or in the trees, or...?
The turtles are on the ground. The ivy is on the ground and growing up into the trees and growing up on the porch.
Okay. Oh gosh. That is a very serious invasive species, and I think that probably the South Carolina Exotic Pest Council, do they have a website that tells you how to treat those, Tony? I believe they do.
I know we have some books in the office that are, exotic plants control. We do have those, and she could probably pick one of those up in some extension offices. I know I have.
It's going to take some herbicide applications and things like that, and I feel like it'd be better if you went in and got the printed documents so that you could read everything, because you are going to be dealing with kind of a large area, not just one plant that you're trying to remove.
Glyphosate doesn't work too well on it because it has such a waxy leaf. Yeah. You probably have to go with one of your stump and brush killers, with containing.
But I would encourage you to visit to call your local extension office, and we all have a booklet that was prepared by the U.S. Forestry Service and the U.S. Department of Agriculture that explains how to treat those certain of the exotic invasive pests, and English ivy is indeed one of them. And you would be doing the world a service if you could get rid of it. I'm going to reach back here and pull up these beautiful things you brought,
all righty,
Miss Duncan, and let you tell us about some of the gorgeous things that are in your gardens that you are tending.
We've got some beautiful peachy colored quince.
Oh, that's a pretty one.
Ours is not quite so lucky as Lori's over there. We have thorns, otherwise I would have brought you a hat for tonight. But this variety is called Cameo, and within the past few weeks I've just been watching the blooms climb up the limbs. So
it's a beautiful soft color.
It is. It's a wonderful pop in our very green bordered garden that it's hidden in.
It is beautiful. And then what you've got some pretty little
Got
bulbs
a
that you
nice
brought.
Dutch iris.
Uh-huh.
We actually have 2 varieties of white irises that pop up in our gardens this time of year. This one has a little tinge of purple to it.
It is. It's really pretty.
It's kind of a surprise when I was snipping away today. I hadn't noticed that before.
And then little jonquils or what, or narcissus? Or,
Yep, we've got some little smaller yellow daffodils with us.
That one's so pretty with the little white cup and then the yellow
It is.
around it. And then
oh, we have a camellia
now
hidden
this
back
is
here.
a pretty camellia.
This is
Put
a
this out
very
here where we
pretty
can get a pretty
one.
view of it.
This is Pink Maxwell, I do believe. Found this one over at Robert Mills' house today. Some of our camellias suffered a little bit from all that snow, but this one was still going strong. It was in a nice protected area.
The variation of color wash in here is just magnificent. And the wonderful thing about some of these old camellias in these old gardens is don't they almost take care of themselves?
They do. This one's kind of hidden in between 2 buildings. 3 years ago, a hackberry fell on it, and we thought we were going to have to rip it out, and it's doing just fine now.
Well, I'm so glad that it survived that that insult. We, as I said earlier, we went to visit Reed Moore in Timmonsville at his wonderful Forgeworks up there, and I think you're going to enjoy the excitement and beauty that this young man is bringing to an ancient craft. We're in Timmonsville, South Carolina, visiting with a traditional knife maker, Reed Moore. Reed, how did somebody who grew up in Columbia end up making these lethal weapons?
Well, I guess I've always just been interested in metalwork for some reason. I don't know why. And I went to school, well, the college I went to had a blacksmithing shop, and so I started doing it there. And just sort of got interested in that, using the craft to make like technologically advanced tools.
I think you're going to show us how to deal with Damascus steel. Tell me a little bit about that material. I think the one you've got there that belongs to my husband that you made.
Yeah, this knife is Damascus, and Damascus is actually also known as pattern welding, and it's basically a composite structure of steel where you take different alloys that have different carbon contents and forge weld them in layers together, and then draw them out and fold them back on themselves and reforge weld them, and do that a bunch of times, and then you get the properties of multiple types of steel and a cool pattern too.
You've got one that's been cut, that you've cut out, that I think you're going to demonstrate how you go through this, and what's the first thing you're going to do with this?
So yeah, I've already cut this blank out, and the Damascus is already mostly forge welded, but I'm going to take the blank and then draw out the knife into its final shape.
On this anvil?
Yeah.
So you're going to beat, just like the people in the Old West,
yeah,
beat the hot molten steel.
Yeah, it's almost molten. It's like right on the edge, but I'll forge weld it out, and then basically get the final shape so I don't have to grind it a whole lot.
What do you do after, how do you cool it down?
You can do it several different ways, but usually when you're forge welding stuff, it's a good idea afterwards to do what's called annealing it. And that's basically just taking the steel and cooling it down really slowly so that the crystal structure is like the softest structure that you can have. And it relieves the stresses in the steel.
And what's the next step after that?
The next step is to get really close to the final shape that you want, and then to harden the steel by quenching it. And so I'll do that with this type of steel. It needs to be quenched in oil to get the right hardness.
And after that, do you need to put a finished edge on it?
Yeah. So then once it's hardened, you basically it gets really brittle once it's hardened. It's fully hardened, and so we want to go back and temper it, and that changes the crystal structure, so it's a tougher structure, but it still is able to retain a good edge and be tough.
Well, the edge is what everyone's after, I guess. And so these knives, because of the way you do it, it's not going to be brittle, but the edge is going to be, you have a hardened edge that will hold the...
Yeah. The way that I do it is to, especially with certain types of knives, you want to have the edge be as hard as possible to be able to keep the edge. And then you want to go back and temper the back side of the blade so that it's softer and tougher, and it kind of helps, so you can make a more flexible knife if you want, or just a tougher knife, so where you get two different properties out of the steel instead of just one hard piece of steel.
And when your knife, the hasp goes all the way back to the end, does that make the knife stronger?
Yeah, it does. It's called a full tang handle, where the steel is the same shape as the handle, and there's more steel, so it's a stronger knife.
Tell me about the different kinds of knives you make. What do you call my knife?
This one is called an usuba knife. It's a Japanese-style vegetable slicing knife.
And what are some of the other ones that you have?
Probably my biggest, or the most popular knife right now is the fillet knife that I make. Where it's a Damascus, it's a shorter fillet knife for trout and smaller birds like ducks and things. One of my specialties is making cleavers. I really like making cleavers and other like butcher tools. So I make cleavers anywhere from like a pound up to 10 pounds for a hog splitter.
Yeah, that one cleaver, the hog splitter, is a pretty ferocious looking beast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, do you cook yourself? Do you use the knives?
Yeah, I use them as much as possible. I like to make sure they're working right.
So
see what I can improve.
They've been put through the test. Reed, I've enjoyed visiting your foundry and seeing a young person take a traditional craft and turn it into something with a modern flair. And I think other people would like to learn more about this. How could they do that?
My website is redforgeworks.com, and I'm also on Facebook. It's Red Forgeworks, and then Instagram and some other things.
All right. At my house, I'm considered not a good knife sharpener. And I think maybe if I take a lesson from the master, my husband will let me use his knife sometimes. So would you give me a little tutorial?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, let's go learn.
All right.
Reed Moore, one of the many young South Carolina artists that we are so proud of, who are making a name for themselves, not only within the state, but nationwide. And thank you, Reed, for letting us come up and visit with you. I had fun getting hat material today because it was all right in the driveway.
Good.
Isn't that wonderful when you just walk out the door? But you said you think this little Juga is which one?
Black scallop. It looks a lot like the one we have growing over at the Robert Mills house.
I'm so glad that you put a label on yours and remembered the name. And then, Tony, I've got that fun little carrier.
Yep, I like to carry it.
Yeah,
it's old-timey.
It is
old-timey. Been around, but it flowers and flowers.
Doesn't it, though?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then I took a tip from you and got some little bulbs to put up there too. It's just just a beautiful time of year. Everything is so pretty. We think our next caller, Jerry from Charleston, is still with us. Jerry, are you there?
I am, yes ma'am.
Well, good. I'm so glad you are. And what's happening down there near the ocean?
Well, we took a real beating this winter time with the cold weather.
We sure did up here too.
And I brought a gardenia from Texas. It was my wife's great-grandmother's.
Oh.
And I thought I had it planted in a microcosm where it would stay through the winter.
And it did all right until this winter, and this winter took a real heavy toll. My question is, when do I cut it back, and how far do I cut it back to see if it totally died?
So did it lose most of its leaves?
Oh, it's brown.
Gosh.
It took a real beating.
That's really too bad. Well, what do you think?
Well, if it's lost its leaves, you could give it a little bit longer.
I think that would be a very good plan, because we don't know. It may surprise us, and if we...
A lot of things got shocked by that cold weather, so it may just take them a little longer to bounce back. It never hurts to wait.
That's right. It won't hurt a bit to wait, especially if that plant has that much history and that much sentiment for the family. So just watch it, and then we hope that he will be rewarded by seeing some little buds come out. And then if there's a portion above, a portion above where the buds are coming that doesn't bud out, then that part...
He probably needs to cut back, because that was probably the most damaged part of the plant.
Well, thank you for that advice. We appreciate it. And we are getting so excited because it's getting, when we love being with you and talking to you through the airwaves, but it's a lot more fun when you're out there in front of us. And on April the 26th, we are going to one of the most exciting things in the world, not just South Carolina, but actually the world, and that's Art Fields, which takes place in Lake City, April the 25th through May the 4th. And on April the 26th at 2 p.m. at the Bean Market, which is just about the most beautiful restored building you've ever seen. And they used to sell more string beans, pole beans there from anywhere else in the country, didn't they?
Anywhere else. They ship them all the way up north on the train.
Yes. And it is now just a fascinating place for things to happen, and we're going to have a happening down there on April the 26th at 2 p.m. Tony's going to be there, and John Nelson, and Vicki, and Terasa, and Gary Forrester, and Rebecca Turk from Moore Farms. We are just going to have a blast, and we want you to be one of the people who's out in the audience with us. Of course, everything starts on April the 25th. It's the biggest art extravaganza you've ever seen in your life, and you get to wander through the stores in Lake City and see the art being displayed in just a myriad of venues. It just could not be more fun. So much excitement going on, and the art is already on the internet site, so you can go and see. And we want you to come and be with us on April the 26th. Make plans to spend time in Lake City. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be in Lake City this weekend for the PD Poetry Show.
I didn't know
a beauty
that.
contest for chickens.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to learn how you paint toenails on chickens. Okay, Jill is in Florence. Hey, Jill, how can we help you?
I am fine. I went to Lake City last year, and it was very, very delightful.
It's pretty wonderful.
Very informative.
It's pretty wonderful.
And one question is, can you grow, I've got a patio, can I put one tomato plant in a pot and expect it to produce tomatoes?
All right, Tony, we're getting kind of low on time, but give us some quick advice.
Sure. Put them in a pot, and they'll produce, just have a deep enough pot that'll give it some root system. To grow, and the smaller the pot, the more you have to water.
Okay. So, and are there tomatoes that are specially bred to be in containers?
There are some. There's some patio types. Well, most of them don't have tomato spotted wilt resistance. So
get a big pot and get a tomato that's got tomato spotted wilt virus. Lori, we are so happy that you came and just brought these wonderful things to get us excited about gardening again. And remind us of how we can get in touch with you, please, ma'am.
Yes, we're Mill Creek Greenhouses in Columbia on Leesburg Road, and visit us on Facebook and on our website, millcreekgreenhouses.columbia.com.
All righty. And you are right next to the church that has the healing spring, so you can bring some empty containers and get some of that wonderful water too. Okay. And Terasa, thank you so much for being with us as always, and we're so excited that you're going to be with us on April the 26th in Lake City.
That's right. Thank you. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know we've been talking a little bit about it in the chat room, and I know some of our regular chatters are going to be there. We sure do hope to have a crowd. Lake City is a fabulous place, and we're really excited to be traveling there. Thanks to everyone who chatted with me this evening. Don't forget, if you haven't checked out the Making It Grow website, there really is some great new information available to you. Not only the streaming feature, which is available on any internet-ready device, but also the shorts, which you can't see on the regular show, but you can go and see they're taped right here in the studio. Amanda, back to you.
Thank you. And again, I'm real excited about coming up and being with y'all. And remind me and our viewers when I'm supposed to be in Columbia. And
Amanda will be joining me on Friday, April 11th in Columbia at 300 Senate's Inn for Historic Columbia's Growing Your Own Gardening Skills She'll be talking, it's all about the dirt and telling us all how to prepare our spring beds. So if you have any gardening questions, I'm sure Amanda and I will be there and ready to help you.
I'm glad you're going to be there to help me. And then on Saturday, I think Lori and other people are going to be there.
Yeah, we'll be at the Robert Mills house, and there'll be a series of workshops and vendors, plants to buy from Heathwood Hall students. They've propagated some of Historic Columbia's own and finest.
How exciting. They'll be available. Yeah.
Yes, and Lori will have a workshop with lots more plants for y'all to look and learn about, and other horticultural professionals in the Midlands area.
Well, I hope it's going to be a beautiful day, and
I do too.
I'm honored that you've invited me to come. Thank you so very much. I hope I see a lot of my friends when I get up there, and just call that number and you can find out all about it. And Tony, gosh, you were telling me that there's a little bit of sad news about peaches.
There is. There's some damage out there, and a good part of the state has some damage, especially on some of the varieties that were real flowered out during that time of the cold snap, Amanda.
But you know, that's just part of farming, isn't it?
It is. You have to kind of go with the ups and downs, and I think we have some peaches, but not a normal crop. Let's put it that way.
Well, you know, whatever there is that's out there, we're going to be keeping you informed on it, and we can't wait to have you with us here on Making It Grow. We'll see you next time. Night, night.
Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.